What's up, guys? Wanted to go over my leg day with you today. So I don't show you my warm-up leg extensions that I pretty much always do. We're just going into the first movement here, V squats facing away from the ab reps. This is a warm-up set here, and then we go straight into my one working set to failure. Really, what I'm trying to do, with this working set is beat the wall. I'm trying to progressive overload, either in the form of weight or reps. And this time I get 18 reps versus 17 last time, but also my good companion Blake on the back there, she weighed about 5 pounds less last time, so a little bit of weight as well. I think it's the spirit fingers in there. You have to watch and learn in a second here. There's a little bit, there's a preview. They're coming. There we go. Yes, sir. Probably fly if I did that hump. So then we move into lying dumbbell curls. And I'll be honest with you guys, my joints felt a little bit off this session. I've been hitting hard pretty much twice a week, as far as even more sometimes. It's once every 3 days, so it's a little bit more than twice a week. If you extrapolate things out, my joints were feeling a little bit, so I was trying to get some stimulus without a ton of joint stress. But I wanted to keep that first movement in just because I felt like I could get away with it this time. So we move into these. These are obviously going to be gentle on the joints. You don't have to use a lot of weight for these. And you'll see, actually, any movement that I do, I always do a warm-up set, at least one. Even if the muscles are warm, I want to get into the particular movement pattern that we're working. So I do one here. I actually do 2 warm-up sets total. And then I go into straight set to failure with 45. And my hamstrings were feeling pretty good. I felt like my adductors were getting hit more than my hamstrings on that first work set. So what I did was to create more muscle damage on the hamstring itself and more tension on the hamstring itself is I did another straight set to failure with 45, and then I had my buddy Blake give me some tension on the negative. So I would come up and have her push down on my legs and create, overload that eccentric portion of the movement, because you're going to be a lot stronger during the eccentric, so you can go to concentric failure and then have a lot to take as far as the eccentric portion. So we really take things to failure that way, total muscular failure. You guys will see it's pretty intense. I get what I call the intensity shakes after that intensity set, and I actually shake. I don't know what it is, honestly, from a physiological standpoint, but I think it's just because your nervous system is firing so rapidly and so hard that even after you cease, it still continues to fire a little bit. And I actually shake. You'll see me. It's funny because the first time I did it, Blake thought I was having a seizure and almost freaked out on me. So I think this is just the straight set here. And really, this tore my adductors up. And I really didn't feel a ton in my hamstrings, not enough to be satisfied with it. So that's where we threw the second set in here. Here comes the set with the force negatives here. And you guys see me looking over this way, and I'm actually not looking at the camera. there's a mirror behind the camera, so I'm actually checking my butt out. But, you know, that's just typical of me anyways. By the third, I mean, she didn't have to use much tension on this. By the third one, she was just barely pressing. You can tell, you can see by her hands. See, shake. Fun stuff. That one wasn't too bad. Sometimes I'll shake hard. And then we move into something that's unorthodox for me, you know, again, and that's a giant set. I rarely ever do these, but again, my knees were feeling a little funky, and you know, I thought we could continue to get some stimulus through a different route. And in that vein, you know, I think these can be lucrative sometimes. I don't think there's anything, you know, I don't think there's anything bad about them, or they shouldn't be utilized. I just think that the capacity for growth is a lot lower than is, say, you know, just tension by itself. You know, maximal tension through the muscle. These are going to be more focused on metabolic strain and metabolic stress rather than just, again, maximal tension. So we do the leg press. I did 15 to 20 reps. Go and do body weight lunges, and then I go into leg extensions. Now, the leg press and the body weight lunges, I mean, the RP is probably like 7 or 8. It's not real high. You know, by the time I'm finished with the lunges, I'm feeling, you know, my legs are pretty full of blood. I'm feeling my hamstrings on the eccentric portion of the movement. But then, you know, once I'm done with the leg extensions, and once I did this for 2 giant sets, with some rest in between. Once I'm through, you know, with the second one, I mean, my legs are just full of blood. So, again, it's more about metabolic stress than, you know, muscular failure. I mean, you can't be a wiener. You can't be a turd nugget. You got to work hard. But, you know, you should realize that you don't need to, you know, max out on these.
Come on, Nick. Come on, come on. Push it, push it.
And again, I felt like we could get a little bit more out of things without, you know, putting a ton of stress on the joints. So we went and did weighted step-ups, and it also helps with my sciatica issue. One thing about that is because my piriformis is tight, it causes an imbalance between, you know, my external and internal rotators. And this will actually, since it's been getting a little better, this movement used to really hurt, but it doesn't hurt at all now. It reinforces, you know, the balance between the internal and external rotators on my affected foot, which is my right foot. So you'll see that, and also my strength on my right leg is a little bit weaker because of that, so we're trying to balance that out as well. Now you see, if you pay close attention, that I pause before I do each rep. A lot of people use their back foot and push off of it to get some leverage. Don't do that, guys. Drop the weight down. Make sure you're using only your front leg to push yourself up. And you'll notice a ton of difference in the amount of tension you create and just the way the movement feels. Here we go into this, just a warm-up set. Again, like I said last leg session, I typically do adductors or abduction at the end of each workout. And I actually did a compound set of adduction and abduction this time. Just wanted to throw the abductors in there since we were moving from, you know, more hypertrophy based, you know, pretty much virtually all hypertrophy based, more into like kind of rehab stuff. I mean, it's still hypertrophy, but you know, there's rehab involved, and so that abduction will help with that piriformis tightness. It'll get blood in the muscle. It'll loosen it up. You know, so it does help that hip as well. Again, like I said last time, it's about getting in there and doing the proper work. It's not about your ego or what you look like in the gym. I could care less what I look like during this. And actually, the reason I mention this is because we had a guy come up and talk to my camera woman during the first take. This was the second take, and said something to her about how could a guy do that, you know? And I didn't hear it, luckily, but you know, it's not the ego, guys. I mean, if you go in there with an ego, it's just all bad all around. So put it aside, outgrow your ego, as Mr. Jansen and Mick Carver says, and really get in there and do what you're supposed to do. So here we just move on to calf raises. This is at the end of my session here, and you'll see I'm doing seated this time, and there's a reason for that. You know, with seated versus standing, when the knee's bent, we're going to target more of that deeper calf muscle. I'll be honest, I think it's the gastroc. It's either gastroc or the soleus. One's surface, one's deeper. And so it's going to target the deeper muscle, so it's not going to show that on the outside, but it's going to create more mass in the calf as a whole and you know, lead to a bigger calf. So don't just do standing. Don't neglect either, because they will lead to, if you balance them and do both of them, it will lead to a bigger, more developed calf muscle or muscles. And I think that's it, guys. So again, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for future episodes. Holla.